views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello, welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm Daren, Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, we'll discuss rent laws strengthening protections for all tenants in New York City, signed into legislation by Governor Andrew Cuomo. Afterwards, we're going to meet the candidate for Congress in District 15, Tomas Ramos. And then, what is peripheral artery disease? Well, we want you to stay tuned so that you can learn more with the vascular surgeon. And after that, the 48-hour film challenge is over. Organizers are hosting a screening of 6 short films created right here in the Bronx. We want you to stick around to find out more. Then, a Bronx film group is presenting a movie premiere of Time Matters. Stay tuned to learn more from music impresario Mikey J. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello everyone, I'm Daren, Jaime, and today is Wednesday, June 19th, and of course, you're watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network as Open is being broadcast simultaneously on MNN's channel. Now, you can stay connected to us via Twitter at BronxNetTV and on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Well, a lot has certainly been going on through the past week. We're going to take you through it now with some Bronx updates. The New York State Senate has approved a bill granting driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants. The new bill is called the Green Light Bill. The bill actually helps those without legal immigration status apply for a learner's permit starting December 14th. Now, legislators say the same requirements apply as all other New York City driver's licenses, including having auto insurance. The new bill has been met with opposition from some Republican representatives, as well as critics who say the legislation is a path to citizenship, to which State Senator Alexandria Biaggi said, quote, "It's not about giving someone a driver's license who's going to try to get citizenship. It's about providing someone with the opportunity to be able to drive and have transportation to serve us and our communities collectively," end quote. 12 states and Washington, D.C. currently allow undocumented immigrants to drive. New Jersey is in the process of weighing the proposal as well. Well, in other news, in New York State law news, if your child isn't vaccinated against diseases like chickenpox or measles, they may not be allowed to attend school. That's because New York has eliminated the religious exemption to vaccine requirements for school children amid the worst measles outbreak in decades, prompting states to reconsider giving parents ways to opt out of immunization rules. Now, the bill will not change an existing state exemption given to children who cannot have vaccines for medical reasons, such as a weakened immune system. For everyone else, the law takes effect immediately, but will give unvaccinated students up to 30 days after they enter school, showing that they've had the first dose of each required immunization. Well, that's all the time we have for Bronx Updates. We're going to take a quick break. We've got a great Open coming up for you. Don't go away. We're coming up right after this.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made this vacation happen.
Double points with every purchase?
Cleverly merging promotions.
I love it.
Cross-referencing travel sites. And booking all your flights with those...
Vouchers. I got us bumped.
They were like, oh. But now they're like... Aloha. You aced this vacation. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
And welcome back. New York City has more than 8 million residents. More than 65% of New Yorkers are renters. In the Bronx, the borough with the highest percentage of those rent-regulated apartments. Recently, legislation passed establishing new rules for millions of people on everything from rent increases to security deposits to evictions. But what exactly are those rules, and more importantly, how do they impact you? And joining us now are two representatives from groups who've actually worked to push these bills into legislature. Bronx Park East Community Association co-founder and chair, Raphael Schweizer, and Citywide Tenant Union of Rochester organizer, Allie, Dentinger. And we thank you so much for coming and sharing with us here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
Good.
us.
I know it's got to be a good feeling to have these rent regulations passed. And, talk to us a little bit about, first of all, your reaction to the new laws.
So it's good. It's not as good as it should be. Tenants in New York City and across New York State have been suffering for many, many years. The New York State Senate has been either Republican or it hasn't been democratically controlled in many, many years. And we haven't, well, for one, the rent laws have been very slowly degraded and done away with. And this law restores a lot of those protections and gives some more, but we need to go further. So this is a good first step, but it is not enough to really make this city affordable and fair for tenants.
And on the part of being upstate, and talk about upstate for a minute, because city and state, of course, a lot of people say, well, what goes on, downstate is not the same. It's not the same effect. From an upstate perspective, how do you view it?
Yeah, absolutely. The housing crisis upstate is like the Wild West. There is zero control that goes to the tenants. There's zero regulation. Landlords can come and go as they please and evict people as they please. There's no rent stabilization. But these bills change that. They give the state the entire option to opt into the rent stabilization if they have a 5% or less vacancy rate. There are many cities throughout our entire state that are going to really benefit from this, and I know a lot of them have already started working with their local parties to make this happen. But we need this because families are being mass evicted, and I agree. I think this was a great start. I think expanding it to the entire state was a huge move on the part of the legislature, but there are still millions of unprotected tenants that aren't going to have access to the rent stabilization and that can be evicted without good cause. And without that good cause bill, people are not guaranteed the right to renew their lease, which means they risk the displacement at any point. We're not opposed to the development in the upstate cities, but we are opposed to wealthy investors from outside these cities coming in and investing in the city to make a quick profit off of people that have built the city. Right. And it doesn't benefit them, it displaces them.
And when you talk about New York City, of course, the big concern on the part of many people who are renters are, first of all, the development, and second of all, the skyrocketing rents to continue to just go berserk, almost to the place that New York City has become unaffordable. You talked about the laws and not necessarily having enough teeth in the laws. What exactly else would you like to see?
So I want to give the example of Juana Rios. Okay. My group held a town hall with our Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Juana spoke. She is an unregulated tenant. She lives in a 2-story connected home. There are 8 connected 2-story homes, total of 16 apartments. For decades, they were owned by Beth Abraham. Beth Abraham engaged in some fraud, so they had to sell off their properties. So it was taken over by some developer in Brooklyn, and he was like, wow, look at these connected homes. What are they paying, $1,200, $1,300 for a 2-bedroom? You know what, I want them out. So he started giving eviction letters under everyone's door, harassing tenants, and Juana is one of those people. She has fought it, but if this developer, this new property owner really wants, he could have her out because she is unregulated. The property owner does not have to offer her a lease because in New York City, if you have less than 6 units in a building, for the most part, you're not regulated, and the landlord can get you out at whim. So we need good cause eviction protections to protect Juana and many, many other New Yorkers. All these what people use the term gentrification in Brooklyn, a lot of that happened because there were a lot of 2, 3, 4, 5 apartment buildings, unregulated. Developer comes in, oh, this is Brooklyn. Now they're saying, oh, this is the Bronx. You know what? I want you all out. I'm going to knock down this 2-story home and build a 6, 8, 10-story high-rise. And why should people have to leave their community? Why? And just so the community can now face even more people living there, which makes the traffic condition even worse. Our schools can't handle it. And so it all stems to the fact that developers have way too much free will to kick tenants out.
Yeah, so even though these regulations have passed and, you guys are somewhat satisfied, I know there's still some more work to do. Talk about the coalition, a lot of work, right? And so talk about the coalition and some of the movements that you guys are really working towards to really raise awareness. Because for some people, they'll look at this and say, okay, major victory accomplished, but the reality is on your part, you're saying, no, you need to pay more close attention and we need to get more people to the table.
And don't get me wrong, we're very satisfied with a lot of the wins that we did achieve. We just know that there's millions of people that need more wins. We're done deregulating our rent-stabilized apartments. People who are on preferential leases are going to have the preferential rent for the remaining of their tenancy. These are enormous wins that we're very, very proud of. But the entire coalition is committed to passing the good cause legislation to better reforming MCIs, and realistically, we need to eliminate them. The entire coalition is committed to seeing every tenant throughout the entire state having protections. It's not enough if one person is protected because someone else that isn't is going to help displace our community. And stable housing means stable communities and stable schools.
So when we say good cause, we keep saying good cause legislation, good cause. So these are good cause eviction protections. It means that in order for your landlord, the property owner, to evict you, they have to have good cause, which means A, you're not paying your rent, B, you're being a nuisance, or C, the landlord himself or herself wants to occupy that apartment, and also that this legislation that we've been fighting for would limit the rent increases. I believe it's to inflation levels. So that's what good cause means. So when we say good cause protections, that means it's protections for the people who are not in rent stabilized, rent controlled, NYCHA, co-ops, condos. These are the people who don't have to be offered a lease.
So for Bronxites here, I mean, a lot of people watching the show saying, listen, I'm really affected by this. Maybe I want to be a part of this movement. What do they do and what's coming up around the corner?
So my group is Bronx Park East Community Association. We are one of the members of Housing Justice for All. We are on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook at BX Park East, BXPARKEAST. If you want to follow the Housing Justice for All, Housing Justice for All is made up of a large swath of citywide and statewide organizations. You could go on Instagram or Facebook, just look up.
Twitter,
yes, sorry. Housing Justice for All. Also Met Council on Housing, the Metropolitan Council on Housing, the city's, I believe the city's oldest tenant union, is really the organizer behind that. So you can follow Met Council on Instagram at Met_Council, same thing on Twitter, and Metropolitan Council on Housing on Facebook.
So where do you go from here? I mean, obviously, the work continues, but where do you go from here?
So we are going to continue to meet as a statewide coalition from January through June. We've done Tenant Tuesdays where hundreds of tenants have swarmed the Capitol in Albany. And I think that was one of the keys to our success and the win that we did accomplish. And I think we're going to continue to show up. We're going to continue to meet with our local legislatures back in their home districts from now until when session opens back up. And we're going to continue to get out and vote. I think joining the local tenant associations and tenant unions is really, really critical. That's been a huge component of the success that we've had upstate is we've organized buildings and you find a couple tenants that are sick and tired of being sick and tired and you get them to motivate the others in their building to strike back against their landlord. There's power when we unite. New York City was never gonna reform the rent stabilization system alone. They just didn't have the votes. But when we have an entire coalition and we get everyone to see that everyone deserves affordable housing, and everyone deserves those protections, we're going to continue to fight as a unified group. We're going to continue to do weekly conference calls. We're going to continue to communicate on social media. I know I can get up every morning and I can tweet my friends in Rochester and I can tweet my friends in Buffalo and tweet my friends in the Bronx, and I know they're fighting in the same struggle that I'm fighting in. And we're going to continue to show up and we're going to continue to have solidarity.
Development without displacement. Development without displacement.
That's the big saying. hopefully we can see more of that. All righty. Well, thank you guys both for coming and sharing with us. Definitely housing justice, a big issue for us here in the borough. Thank you again for coming. Now, if you want to stay connected with Raphael and Bronx Park East, you can follow them at Bronx Park East Community Association on Facebook or at Bronx Park East on Instagram. Now, for any questions, email them at bronxparkeast@gmail.com. And to stay connected with Allie and the Tenant Union of Rochester, you can follow them back at Take Back Rock on Facebook or at Rock Tenant Union on Twitter. We have to take a quick break. We've got more open. Stay with us. We'll come right back right after this.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
Talking about inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at getschool.com.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason. Because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
And thank you for staying with us. Following Congressman Jose Serrano's announcement for retirement, candidates for Congress have emerged to vie for the District 15 seat, which will have a new representative for the first time since 2013. Now, BronxNet has reached out to all who've officially entered the race, and we've got a candidate here now joining us on set and here to talk about District 15, his candidacy issues, and more. It's Tomas Ramos, who is the candidate for Congress in District 15, and good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
How's it going?
It's going very well so far. Can't complain.
So you made a decision to enter your hat into the ring. Obviously, Congressman Serrano announcing that he's going to retire, as I said in the open. What was your premise in saying, listen, I want to do this?
Well, to be honest with you, I was actually thinking about it before he even retired.
Okay.
Yeah. And for me, you know, I do work in the community, in the grassroots level. I'm in the NYCHA facility, running a community center. I said, if I want to accomplish my vision and my goals, I cannot do so in the capacity that I'm at right now. And I saw many gaps in this district that is the poorest congressional district, lowest education. You know, 92% of people living in this district are renting their units, no home ownership, no equity. And I'm really, really worried about our future of our children. And that's what's at stake right now.
Mm-hmm. And so when you look at the district overall, talk to me about what do you think is the most paramount?
Well, it's collectively, it comes down to poverty. Poverty is what is our issues. Under poverty is crime, low education, you know, unaffordable housing, and how do we tackle that? And I do it in the educational route. I'm a community educator. When I say community educator, the untraditional route. I'm not in the DOE schools. I'm at a facility where I'm able to create my own programs and curriculum, and I'm able to tackle certain issues that the institutional, like DOE and charters and privates aren't able to tackle. And when we talk about civic engagement, a lot of our young people are unaware of the issues that are going on and how powerful their voice really is.
So when you talk in the community, obviously you're walking, you're walking the streets, hitting the streets, hitting houses. What are you hearing most from people?
They're worried about gentrification. They're worried about rent. They're worried about children, their young people getting lost to the streets, gang violence. That's the biggest issue in our community, and no one has really addressed it. And with the murder of Junior's 1-year anniversary that came up, that's something that we really need to start addressing, is how we're going to get our young people off the streets, how we're going to alleviate crime. And it starts with education. And we need educators in Congress creating legislation that understand what's actually needed in our communities. And that's the way we're going to tackle it, Criminal justice reform, we need to stop being punitive and more restorative in our practices. Our young people, arresting them and putting them behind cages at 15, 16 years old is only causing more trauma to them. I spent 40 days in Rikers Island, My father did 12 years in federal prison. So the criminal justice system, for me, I'm very experienced with it and understanding how flawed it is, and there's no real re-entry process in coming out. When my father came out, he wasn't a good father, and it wasn't his fault. We're in a system that when we're born into poverty, we're literally born to fail. So I always say this: a child born in the South Bronx should have the same opportunity as a child born in the Upper East Side. And that is what I'm bringing to this district.
So people say, listen, okay, great aspirations, right? You got the city council, you got the assembly, you've got other places to run. Why the Congress, would somebody say?
Well, it starts from the top down. When I look at Congress and the people that have been in office for so long, they're completely disconnected with what's really going on the ground floor. Why is it you have to go to city council or state? Why is there structures? When the founding fathers created, the Congress, they had 3 requirements: 25 years of age, living in the state, and being a U.S. citizen. That's all the requirements they had. I'm a voice for the young people. I'm a voice for what's really going on in the communities as I work in a NYCHA facility, and I know what our families, our seniors, our young people, our children are faced with on a daily basis. I will be the best representative for this district.
So people ask the question all the time about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They saw her run, how she was able to defeat Joseph Crowley, and he was definitely the front runner at that time. You also have, the seat is given up right now because of the congressman, but yet it's still a heavy seat, a freshman person running. Talk to me about, did she have any influence with you in regards to saying, hey, I could possibly do this?
So I was going to run in 2022. I got accepted to NYU's MBA program. So I was actually going to get my MBA, put myself in $180,000 more in debt, and then she won. I'm like, you know what? Let me take a step back and not incur that debt and shoot my shot right now. And that's why I'm running. And there's momentum, and there's a real need for change. And young people are going to be the determining factor in this race and the races across the country.
Mm-hmm. How do you see the getting out the vote component, right? Because that's real major. And here in the borough of the Bronx, we've always had low voter turnout. How do you see being able to transcend your voice in the votes?
So when we look at a candidate for this district, legislation needs to happen, but more so, we need a leader that's going to inspire the next generation to want to change. Because we can create structural legislation changes, but our young people, if they're unengaged, if they're uninspired, nothing's going to change. We need to change an entire culture. So for me, it's inspiring our young people, and that's what I've been doing. Getting young people that do not want to go to college, get them inspired to want to do more, more of their lives. So what I'm going to be doing is inspiring our young people to come out and volunteer for me, and I already have hundreds of young people that are willing to volunteer and that will be volunteering, and that is a determining factor, is motivating, inspiring, and showing the young people that we have, the future is determined on how hard they want to work for it and what change they want to make in the community.
If you had to speak to voters about being able to, or in your community, about being able to deliver back home, right? Because one thing that people will say about Congressman Serrano is, with seniority and also other things, he was able to deliver a lot of things back home. There is a sense of seniority that gets lost because of his position in the Congress. You will enter as a freshman if elected. Talk to us about that hard task of being able to deliver back home at the level that Congressman Serrano was, given the fact that he had so much seniority.
So he started, 30 years ago. He had to work his way up in some capacity. It's a new day in the Bronx. A new day requires a new vision. A new vision requires new leadership. When I go down to DC, I will be working as hard as I can to maneuver the bureaucracy and politic my way into getting to a leadership position. But it takes hard work, determination, and will and support from the community. And I know I will receive that once I am elected.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about bipartisanship?
Bipartisanship is extremely crucial, and we need to really talk about the issues and stop talking about, are you a socialist, a progressive, a Republican? I always said this: if we sat people on a table that actually cared about human lives and talked about the issues, we will conclude that we're all here for the same reasons, on impacting, empowering, and changing our communities. So bipartisanship is one of the most instrumental things that we need to do, and I believe that I can do that.
Mm-hmm. You get the final word about why somebody should vote for you.
It is about our children and our children. Our mothers are struggling, single parents working 2 to 3 jobs. We don't have many male figures in our young people's lives, so that's how we're losing them to the streets. We need a positive role model for our young people. We need to understand that our children in our education system has to be more holistic. We have to focus on the whole child and understanding what issues are going on at home and how we're going to help the entire families, holistically. And the community school approach is one of my biggest things I'm going to be advocating once I'm in Congress.
Well, it's good to have you come and share with us. As always, as we get closer, we know you're going to be coming back here. I think we'll have a debate set up and some other stuff set up, so don't worry. We'll hear more from you. But thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Tomas Ramos, who is candidate for Congress District 15. Now, to find out more about his campaign, visit tomasforcongress.com, and we encourage you don't go anywhere because we still have more open coming up right after this.
For all the papas out there, let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund breeding.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
And thank you for staying with us. Peripheral artery disease, better known as PAD, impacts approximately 8.5 million people in the United States, including about 12 to 20% of individuals older than age 60. But what is peripheral artery disease? Well, here now to share more information on the risk factors and how to lower your risk is Dr. Danielle Bajakian, who is the vascular surgeon at Columbia University's Irving Medical Center, and we welcome you.
Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Good. So when we talk about this, I mean, obviously it's not something that many people are familiar with, but I guess when you face it, you have to deal with it. So can you educate us a little bit more about peripheral artery disease?
I can. Actually, one of the reasons why I'm so thrilled that you're having me on the show is that even though this problem affects over 8 million people, nobody knows what it is. And so early diagnosis is important. So peripheral arterial disease is really simply blockages in the arteries that feed the circulation to the legs. those blockages are caused by atherosclerotic disease or plaque. It's the same type of buildup that causes heart attacks in the heart. That's the same type of problem. When it's in the legs, it's called peripheral arterial disease.
So you say there's a lot of people who walk around, and they walk around undiagnosed, right? So how do we find out what are some of the symptoms of this?
So peripheral arterial disease, for some people, it's asymptomatic. However, the earliest symptoms are pain in the legs or cramping in the legs when walking. So the typical description is when you walk a certain distance, your legs start getting achy, tired, you get cramping in them, you stop, and after a certain amount of time, that pain goes away, and then you can start walking again. That's the earliest symptom, and it's called claudication. As this disease progresses and becomes more severe, that pain can become constant. You can develop wounds in your legs and your feet that don't heal, and then in its most severe form, it can cause gangrene. At that point, there's a high risk. If it's not treated urgently, you can end up with amputation. So the earlier the diagnosis, the higher the likelihood of successful treatment.
And I know every doctor wants to do something about terms of lowering risk and trying to make sure that we can, keep these numbers down. What could an individual do to lower their risk to really put them in a place of, better possibilities here?
So that's a great question. I think the first thing that people need to understand is really the risk factors involved with the disease in order to lower the risks. So those risk factors, age is one of them. There's really nothing that you can do about that.
Right.
Age over 60 is a significant risk factor. Diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, high cholesterol, and smoking. And so the things that we can do to lower our risks are go see our primary care doctor regularly, obviously. Nobody really wants to do that, especially when they're feeling young and healthy, but controlling your cholesterol, controlling your diabetes, can prevent you from ever needing to come into my office. The other things that we can do to regulate this type of problem is smoking cessation. Everybody knows smoking is bad. People have a hard time stopping. But if you have other risk factors, if you have diabetes, if you have high blood pressure, and you smoke, you're doing yourself a particular disservice, and you can end up with an amputation if you don't modify those risk factors.
So I know you had a recent event. You had a workshop in May. Talk to us a little bit about this workshop that took place in May and what happened.
Great. So this actually was the most recent in a couple of events that we've had in the Bronx over the past couple of months. And the reason that we had them is that nobody knows what peripheral arterial disease is. And outreach to physicians is helpful, but really getting the word out to patients before they have the problem is really useful. So what we did with this most recent event, it was a cardiologist and myself, and we didn't particularly lecture about risk factors. We actually brought in a mutual patient that we both shared. She shared her story with the people in this community center. She was a part of the community center, and she told her story, and I just want to briefly tell it to you because I think it really it exemplifies a lot of the problems that we have in diagnosing and treating this problem. She was a little under 60 years old. She had been a long-term smoker. She didn't have a primary care doctor. She really felt fine. She didn't know she had any problems. She started developing pain in her legs when she was walking. She went to a few emergency rooms. They sent her out with pain medication, an orthopedic appointment, an x-ray. She went back many, many times. She ultimately developed wounds in her legs. Lucky for her, she had a family member who was in the healthcare community who sent her to her cardiologist. We quickly diagnosed her with a circulation problem with these blockages, and because she already had wounds in her feet, she needed intervention. So we did a combination of a surgical procedure and then a minor procedure with wires and catheters and stents. We improved her circulation. She's walking again. Her wounds are healed. And she is now going to be a lifelong patient of myself and this cardiologist. And so she told her story about having a lot of trouble getting health care. She went to the doctor, but it wasn't the right doctor. She was going in for emergency care.
Right.
And because this is an underdiagnosed problem, even the doctors who were seeing her didn't recognize it.
Amazing. But now I want to get to one question before we get out of here, because you talked about treatment, right? So when a person is diagnosed, what are the treatment options that are available for them?
So that's a great question. A lot of people are afraid to come to see me because I'm titled a vascular surgeon and they're worried that they're going to get surgery, but that's certainly not always the case. The beginning therapies are really medication and lifestyle changes. And for patients with early disease, an exercise program and medications can be all that you need for these beginning stages, and that can sometimes reverse the process. In its more severe form, there are a lot of different treatment options other than big surgical procedures to fix these types of blockages, and those are called endovascular therapies. And really what we do, there's no incisions, it's wire and catheter-based therapy. We sometimes crack these plaques open with balloons, sometimes put stents or metal scaffolding, and there are a lot of other technologies that we can do with these wires and catheters, especially being at an institution such as Columbia, we're a major university. We have these technologies before they're available to the public. We're involved in a lot of trials for newer technologies. So there are a lot of new treatment options that require minimal recovery. Some of them are outpatient therapy, and patients can go back to their normal activities the next day even.
Hey, amazing. So for people who want more information, what do they do?
So the first step is to involve your primary care doctor in your therapy. So for everybody who I listed these risk factors, if you're going to see your primary care doctor or your cardiologist and they're not taking off your shoes and your socks and examining your pulses in your feet, you're not getting a thorough exam. For patients who really suspect that they have some of these symptoms that I described, an appointment in my office, even if you come into my office and I tell you that you should modify your risk factors and you have no circulation problems, you're better off getting an evaluation very early on if you have risk factors so that we can modify your risks and hopefully prevent you from ever needing to come into my operating room.
Well, Dr. Bajakian, thank you so much for coming, giving us the awareness, the information, and hopefully people will take advantage of knowing a little bit more about this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here.
All righty. Well, listen, we encourage you to stay tuned for more Open coming up after this, but you heard the doctor. Make sure you get yourself checked out. We'll be right back in a few.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody.
So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, "Read your lease. No pets allowed." My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund reading.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. Yeah, I get it.
Our BronxNet correspondent Sanji Lopez got a chance to catch up with Bronx recording artist, music producer, actor, and director Mikey J to find out more about his journey, his philanthropic work, his production company, his upcoming movie premieres, and more. We're going to go to her interview with Mikey J right now.
Today's guest is a Grammy-nominated recording artist, music producer, actor, and director from the Bronx. Through his philanthropy, he has established a film academy, multi-million-dollar film production company, and more. Now he's here to tell us about his latest projects, Time Matters and Colorblind. Please welcome Mikey J. Hi, Mikey. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Sanji.
Of course. So we'll start off by talking about you, your background from the Bronx. Who is Mikey J?
Well, first, I'm a father first, God's child, and Christ's brother. But I'm a South Bronx native, New York representative, actor, rapper, music producer, benefactor for 2 schools in the Bronx, civil rights activist, U.S. Peace Ambassador, as well as the spokesperson for the NAACP in the Bronx, amongst many other things.
So like we said in the intro, you've established your own film academy and a music production company in itself. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I wanted to do something in retrospect to curbing the violence in the Bronx. And because, you know, the news travels. And when you're watching, whether it's ABC 7 or CBS 2, it's like gun violence, this, stabbings, that, you know, the situation with Junior, that really put me over the top.
Right.
And then just recently a lot of stuff going on. So I said, well, how do you curb it? Well, you got to start with the most impressionable people out there, which are the 5-year-olds, the 4-year-olds, the 8-year-olds. And you'd be surprised what a 5-year-old will get behind the camera and point out to you. So I said, you know what? Let me utilize my platform with the films to get these children involved, and hopefully the parents will follow suit. And that's why I just started the Anya Film Academy, to get the kids, you know, involved, and just to deter them, you know, and give them something else to look forward to other than putting a basketball in their hands or a football. Let's teach them the technical aspects of working behind the scenes. Let's teach them how to do a monologue and, you know, in film.
Right. So like we said earlier, you're 2 Grammy nominations,
Yeah.
you got a bunch of awards, and you're giving back to the community that bred you and you came from. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, man. Burt Padell gave me the opportunity to work with Sting and Kelly Clarkson. Kelly, especially in her early days. That was an honor. 13 music awards were all for my music itself, my albums, singles. The 42 honor awards that I've received from Barack Obama. Ruben Diaz, I got a few from him, proclamations. Just recently, Senator Gustavo Rivera. We do a lot of stuff together too. Great guy, really, really great guy. The mayor of Paterson, New Jersey, took a fake firearm from a 6-year-old kid. It looked real. And I bought it, or he said he paid $2 for it. And I gave him $5 for it just to get out of his hands. Because what if we were police? And you know, a lot of police now, it's not that they're overzealous, they just, you know, they can't tell the difference at that, especially at nighttime or a certain angle. So that came, the city of Paterson, New Jersey honored me, and different cities across the country. But to be honest, I don't look to be on it, nor do I want to. You know, I do what I do because I'm my brother's keeper. Right. That's my responsibility. That's my assignment, is to come out and not preach, but speak to people and try to get them, you know, to live in a different light, right. Come out of the darkness. You know, I myself came from a path that I'm still flabbergasted that, wait a minute, 1 minute I'm in the dark, and now I'm in the light, and my life is an open book, very transparent. So when I was the New York ambassador at Peace December, the organization by Sheikh Musa Drama, I got to utilize my past, and I went around the country doing an anti-gun campaign, Stop the Violence tour, and I was able to do that because I come from a gang affiliation background, if you want, for not a term, but to come from that sort of background and to be able to actually go to the forefront and speak to gang members and people who just want to go down the life of darkness, nah, we're gonna show you what it really is. Right. So myself and a friend of mine who became a friend, Cam Stone, we went around the country, and it was great.
Thank you for doing that work. Thank you for doing that work and being that, that inspiration and motivation for a lot of youth out here in the Bronx, Thank you for doing that and bringing that back to our hometown.
Yeah. And now my son is out there heavy.
Yeah.
It feels good to where, not that I want to take a break, but now that I can say, now I got other people that I can rely on to continue the work that's already been started by Reverend Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, Che Guevara, and so many other prominent black leaders and Latino leaders, Right. So it feels good. I could just step back to, my son got that. Or Yandy from Love and Hip Hop, what she's doing with the young girls now. Yeah. It just feels good. Right. Not to sit back and watch and just play. Yeah,
And now you have an exciting event coming up this weekend. Yeah. Well, next weekend, actually. The movie premieres. Can we talk about your 2 films and what you're expecting for these films?
Well, the first premiere is Time Matters, and that's starring myself, Vanessa Goodwin, Rick Rosenspire, Gigi Neglia, Raymond Broadwater, Peter Guns, and Mama Jones. Yeah. And I got to talk about the little ones, too, that's playing my daughters, Samantha Harriet. She plays Madison. Sydney Scott, she plays my daughter. And my cousin Jasmine Bowman, she plays my other daughter. So, and I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm excited.
And what is the film about? It's like a crime drama, I understand?
Correct. Basically, my brother Samuel, he takes some books, some ledgers from some very bad people. And I'm an attorney, but I was taught by the Contento family, Paolo Contento, how to be street, So those instincts kick in once my daughter gets kidnapped because of my brother's antics. And everything just trickles down from there. Vanessa Goodwin, who plays Lacey, she's a co-conspirator. It's just crazy, but everything is straight and narrow, not all over the place, but it's like right there. So I'm excited about that. And it's gonna be at the Stewart Cinema and Cafe, 79 West Street, Brooklyn, New York, in the Greenpoint section. For the cast and media, it's 11 a.m. And we got 3 showings, 2, 5, and 8 p.m. And we got media coming, special guests. And I'm proud to be doing it at the Stewart Cinema and Cafe because Emily Stewart, she started the October Film Fest. And she's the first Black Latina female to open up her own cinema cafe in New York. So,
well, y'all gotta pop out and meet Mikey J. He's a very humble person for being a mogul. It's a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for being here with us, Mikey. We're definitely gonna plug in and talk about the event right now. And we'll put all the information. We have the flyer and everything. But thank you so much. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Thanks for having me.
Looking forward.
Likewise.
Time Matters debuts on Sunday, June 23rd at the Stewart Cinema and Cafe, located at 79 West Street in Brooklyn, with showtimes at 2, 5, and 8 p.m. For more information on Mikey J, please make sure to follow him on Instagram at MikeyJ'sIG. Stay tuned for more Open right after this.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
And we are back. The 48-hour film challenge in the Bronx was an intense weekend for 6 filmmaker teams to write, cast, shoot, score, edit, export a short film just within 48 hours. Well, those films are now set to screen at the Bronx Documentary Center on June 29th. And here to tell us more about the challenge and upcoming screenings are filmmakers and co-founders of the 48-hour film challenge, Gregory Hernandez and Edwin Torres. Good to have you both.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome back again.
Thank you.
So walk us through this. It was a very exciting 48 hours, huh?
Yeah. So it's basically a great opportunity for Bronx filmmakers, if they haven't made a film yet, to make a film in 48 hours. It's great technical practice because you're not putting so much emphasis on, oh, this film needs to be an award-winning film. It's more about the practice of motion pictures. So you're not going to be spending so much time writing the script. You're going to focus on more about filming and getting great composition and just the technical practice. So you can literally say, after the weekend is over, I made a film in 48 hours. You can actually put that on your resume as well. So.
Wow. Pretty interesting. Yeah. Talk about the concept. How did you design that?
Basically, like the way there's like kind of a national competition as well. So we kind of, kind of took inspiration from that. And basically, we had like kind of a rule set. We were basically there had to be a line and a prop and a featured name and a place in the Bronx for this competition.
Awesome.
So they had to. We kind of had we had a little thing in a hat. So we had a bunch of street names in a hat, and we kind of shook them up. And we had them come up, each team, and just pick one out of the hat, and that would be the street that they'd have to film on.
So they got 48 hours to go ahead and do what they have to do, and then they go from there. What was the excitement like for these people to have 48 hours to be able to do it? Was it a sense of excitement? Was it a sense of nervousness? How'd it go?
It's all mixed up in one soup, stress, excitement, anxiety, but it's also that competition. You're competing against other filmmakers. We look at this as an exciting experimental networking event. So just the sheer excitement and reaction for people to get their genres, like, oh, I got drama, I got silent film, great, I don't have a microphone, this works perfectly. Getting, a landmark like, oh, Bainbridge or Tremont or Alexander Avenue, for instance, okay, great, I've been there, or, oh, I've never been there. It's just those level of excitement, like picking out that lottery and then not knowing what you're gonna get, because you're not knowing what film you're gonna make until the day of. So it's pure excitement.
And then you get a chance to pick out a spot, right? Each person picks out a spot. So talk about the spots that you selected.
Well, they picked out. So I think some people had like I think one of them was like Tremont, and then the other was like Alexander Avenue. So like different places in the Bronx that were like significant, kind of that are recognizable on the screen. So they just had to feature a part of that street onto the film so that we know that they filmed it in the Bronx.
Right. Well, we also had a fun time picking out the streets. Like a couple weeks before, we were like, which avenues do we want to pick out? And it was just three of us. We have another founder, Ayadis Perez, who designed the poster. She couldn't make it today, but just the three of us, picking out avenues like Bainbridge, throwing out things, and that was the excitement of it. It was like, this is going to be great because we don't know what's going to be picked out. So fun.
Yeah. And so the screening takes place coming up, and talk to us about that.
Yeah, so it'll take place Saturday, June 29th at the Bronx Documentary Center, which is where we had the kickoff. We had it at their annex buildings, so now it'll take place at the gallery space. So going forward, that's something that we want. We're going to be applying for fiscal sponsorship. We want the partnership of Bronx Documentary Center and the Bronx Filmmakers Collective and so on and so forth, many other institutions and organizations in the Bronx, because we want to make this bigger and better. We ultimately want more filmmakers. We want the numbers to increase, and we also ultimately want to make it a biannual challenge as well. So in the spring and the fall.
When you talk about getting filmmakers to the table, how hard was it to you to get the filmmakers to the table with this one?
A lot of social network outreach. So we had to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We just had to we just reached out and especially with the poster and the flyer, we just basically just spreading the word of hey, you get to make a film in 48 hours. If you're a filmmaker, come out. And it was really just trying to figure out what kind of filmmaking network is in our borough, because I've lived here for a long time and wanted to meet other filmmakers as well. So meeting him, I know he's not the only one. So just reaching out to different schools, different colleges, different places where filmmakers could be, and just telling them to come on over to our kickoff event and get started.
And I think you talked about it a little bit, in the beginning, it's an idea to get exposure, right? And then for a person that's really just getting going, just to get your feet wet.
Yeah, I just have a quick addendum to that. We, just talking earlier with the other people on, voting, poverty, there are a lot of things that are going on in this borough, and I think it's important and incumbent upon us as visual storytellers to highlight what's going on. So imagine, Bronx filmmakers, they take this challenge oh wow, I made a film in 48 hours. Then after this, it's I want to do a film about, asthma in the South Bronx, poverty in the Bronx, voting, gentrification, housing, and so on and so forth. So those are things that are important. So I think it's really essential in terms of meeting other filmmakers. Our third founder actually lives within blocks of Edwin, and they never even knew they lived in the same neighborhood all these years. So it's really great for us to meet people and also just increase the number of filmmakers and really impart upon them, hey, we also have a responsibility. So honing those technical skills to really provide an outlet to stories that are important in our borough.
So June 29th will be the screening.
Yeah, we're gonna have a trailer dropping later today on our social media outlets about that, just kind of highlighting the different movies to be seen.
Yeah,
so it'll be great.
And so we got the names of them actually out here. 1 of 14 is a drama, smoke, silent film, Nighthawk, action adventure, In and Out, suspense thriller, and we got Cabin Fever, it's a comedy, and Not an Imaginary Friend, fantasy. So they get to pick their own titles, of course.
Yeah, and their own team names.
But you picked the drama. But you also had genre and also.
Oh yeah, they had to pick that out of a hat as well.
Oh, so
yeah.
Okay, so you
we also
pick a genre
we had
too.
two hats, so they also picked that one out of a hat. So they picked the street and they picked the genre.
Oh man, you made people have to work.
I know. Just the tenets of it that go together: the genre, the prop, the line, the character, and the landmark. So those 5 things go into making the film.
We had to feature I think one of the props was a chopped cheese.
Chopped cheese,
we wanted to keep it like a Bronx theme, and then the line was, do they have that in the Bronx?
Oh,
so
they have that in the Bronx?
Right.
Yeah, so they have to feature that in all the films.
Wow.
So
Well, thank y'all for keeping it Bronx. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Gregory. Thank you so much. I want to let you know, the Bronx 48-hour short film festival screening once again. If you didn't hear it, it's happening Saturday, June 29th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Bronx Documentary Center, located at 614 Cortlandt Avenue. Now, if you want more information, you can visit their Instagram at BronxFilm48 and Facebook at the BXFilm48. Now, unfortunately, we've come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us, most of all you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch us anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. Also give a special shout out to those who are watching on Manhattan Neighborhood Network. I know my sister Ann, family, and the rest of you who are watching in Manhattan. Thanks for watching. That about wraps it up for us here on this show and the set of Open. I'm Daren Jaime. Hope you keep this channel wide open. Take care. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.